do it now, America
But
can't.
that's what was in the 40s, I believe, right?
Well, nobody just figured nobody would attack issue. Nobody figured that would occur. And what happened is, I guarantee you, when they get to the bottom
Those are the resolutions, 1 through 3.
Thank you so much. Okay, Ross.
Right on time.
Good afternoon. Today is Tuesday, October the 10th, and you're at the City of Opa-locka CRA Board Meeting. Madam Clerk, can you call the roll, please?
Board Member Irvin. Here. Board Member Kelly.
Present.
Board Member Taylor.
Here.
Vice Chair Williams.
Present.
Board Chair Russell.
Yes, present. We're going to stand for the invocation, and as we stand, we're gonna remember that the month of October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and we want to remember those that suffering with breast cancer, going through a difficult task at this time, and those that are survivors. As myself, I am a breast cancer survivor for 7 years now, and God is good. So I understand the fight. I understand the fight, and the fight is never over. You go through it, although you might be cancer free, you still go through the fight. So Board Member Kelly and Pastor, if you would give us an invocation today, please.
Eternal God, our Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you, God, for life, health, and strength. We thank you, God, for this meeting. We thank you for every member, God. Give us the wisdom, knowledge, understanding. Those things which are pleasing in your sight. And God, as we come this month, we come lifting up breast cancer awareness. We thank you, God, for what you've done in the lives of the survivors. We thank you, God, that didn't make it, but we thank you for their families. Continue to strengthen, continue to guide them as well. Realizing, oh God, that all of our help cometh from thee and thee alone. Oh God, look on what's happening in the Middle East.
Yes.
Control it as only you can do. We lift every situation up to you, knowing, oh God, that you're still in control. So we thank you, we praise you, we lift you up. In Jesus' name we do pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which is stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We're now going to move to the approval of the minutes. Mr. Director, I see you have a note here about the minutes from the last meeting.
Yes, the clerk put the note there. As you all recall, we had a little technical difficulties with the sound. That translated into the minutes not being able to be taken verbatim.
Is your mic on?
Can you hear me? So that translated into the minutes not being able to be taken verbatim. They were taken by notes. So we have the vote count and the summary of the meeting, but we don't have the actual minutes because in order to do the minutes, the clerk usually listens to the recording, which the meeting did not record.
Okay, so at the next meeting, we will probably have a summary of, okay, thank you. We're going to now open public comments. Seeing none, public comments is now closed. And we'll move into our resolution, and we say welcome to the attorney that's sitting in for Mr. Hill this morning, today.
Good evening, everyone. Narina Jean Baptiste.
Okay. I didn't get that name. That's why I didn't say anything.
Narina, like Marina with the N.
Okay.
Jean Baptiste.
Narina. All right, we're going to move right into our resolutions. Madam Attorney, please.
Item 1, a resolution of the Opa-locka Community Redevelopment Agency, OCRA, amending, approving, and adopting the Opa-locka Community Redevelopment Agency's proposed general operating and tax increment fund budget for the fiscal year commencing October 1st, 2023, and ending September 30th, 2024, as set forth in Exhibit A, directing the interim executive director to transmit a copy of said budget to the State of Florida Oversight Board, providing for incorporation of recitals, providing for severability, providing for conflict and repealer, providing for Scrivener's errors, providing for an effective date.
Would someone move the item? Moved by Board Member Irvin,
Second.
second by Board Member Taylor. Mr. Director, if you would go through you don't have to go through the entire thing, but
I'll give
any
you-
changes
Sure.
that stand out.
I'll give you some highlights. First of all, thank you. As you all recall, you passed the budget in July, I believe, June or July. That was called a template budget, which I don't know, still don't know what that means, but it's a template budget. That budget was adopted and sent up to the state for approval. There were some things that were missing from that budget, I felt, namely the executive director's salary. There was also no carryover for the rental assistance program that was going on. So we took a look at the budget and did a little revamp, added some things, and then filled in the holes where we saw holes. So I'll just give you a brief overview of the amended budget that we're asking you to pass today. First of all, the city tax increment revenue for the 24 budget year is 1.5 $1,512,442. The county tax increment revenue is $736,755 for a total tax increment revenue for 24 fiscal year 24 of $2,249,197. This does not include the $4,713,883 carryover that you have from the previous years. So the total revenue for fiscal year 24 would be $7,013,080. Okay. In the categories of expenditures and salaries and compensation and benefits for the 3 employees, that would include the CRA manager, the CRA project coordinator, and the CRA administrative assistant. Those
Excuse
positions.
me, Mr. Director, you're on page, you left page 9, you're on page 10 now?
I am on page 10.
Okay,
Sorry.
so we can follow along
Yeah.
with you.
Sorry. I was actually always on page 10, so.
Okay, go ahead.
And then we have other administrative fees. Those are the accounting for the audit, 50,000, travel, the insurance, the membership dues, operating expenditures, printing and binding, promotional activities, 80,000, out of town travel, 12,000. These are kind of the boilerplate things that we put in there. Professional services, 165,000, legal services, 85,000. We are promoting a home improvement assistant program for 150,000. We're also pulling out a commercial program for $1 million. That's to fix up commercial businesses in the area for up to, I think it was 150. What did we decide on? 150 or 200? Up to 150, I believe. Up to 150 per business.
Per business?
Per business. And that's at $1 million. We also did a smaller grant that small businesses can apply for up to $35,000. And that would be a budget of $250,000. We had some carryover funds from the home ownership, from the rental assistance program. Those carryover funds equal $90,000, and we spoke to several board members. They'd like to expend the rest of that money. And so that's why we carried over that for the budget. And we have other contractual services at 100,000.
Madam Chair, I'm not sure how we're doing it. We're gonna let him do the whole report. We ask questions, or we?
No, I think so we don't get lost. It doesn't get lost in the shuffle if we, Mr. Director, if you would give us an opportunity to ask questions in between.
Sure.
Whichever way you're gonna do is fine. I just wanna-
No, let's do it
I
like
want to
that.
go back. I think you asked a question, but I wasn't sure. On the commercial grants, did you say it was 100,000 per grant or 150?
Let me double check. 100.
Because it's $1 million in that
Yes,
line item, but per grant, is it 100,000, 150?
it's up to $100,000
Oh,
per,
up to, okay.
per business. So we were actually looking at targeting 10 businesses that we pick kind of you know, in high capacity areas, that we can do like a complete overhaul of their building with paint, driveways, windows, roof if necessary. So we would go up to $100,000. If we don't have to do the full 100,000, we won't.
Okay,
But it would be 10
I
business.
just trying to get it was 100,000 on it, so it's up to 100,000. And on the micro business grants, that's 250,000. How much is that broken in terms of per?
That would be up to 35,000 per business.
So you're trying to get 9 to 10 businesses out of that as well.
Correct. And these are for the people that are new, that may be coming in, that want to occupy a vacant space. Both of them, but we wanted to capture both needs. Some people have small needs, some people have large needs. So we wanted to be able to capture and help both groups of business owners.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, in capturing those businesses, Mr. Director, are we, the criteria that we have for the larger businesses versus the micro loan, they're different, the criteria is different?
Correct.
Okay,
And the applications are in the backup looking review.
okay. Also, is there a cap on their, like that business overall budget?
No,
So the $100,000 business, I mean, they don't have a cap, like the
oh, the cap, yeah,
30,000.
the cap is 35,000 for the small.
No, I mean, they're up their overall budget for their business. Like if you have a business, you know, sometime they put a cap. If you in the $35,000 range, you could have a $500,000 cap for your business. For the 100,000, you would have a cap of like $1 million budget, your overall budget. I'm asking, do we have anything like that in place?
No,
Okay, I think that's something that we probably need to look at so that the criteria is a little different for each one of those businesses. I would think, I don't know how the other board members think about that.
Well, Madam Chair, I thought the criteria is different for both of them separate anyway. So what you're saying is you'd like to also see as a part of criteria what their whole entire budget is? Is that what you're asking? Is part of
Yes.
criteria?
Because you don't want, if there's is probably gonna be some type of competition, they're gonna have to put in an application. So the ones that qualify for the micro loan, they should have you don't want, you understand what I'm saying? I think their overall operating budget should be different in those two criteria.
But I would think that if they're applying for or going for the up to 100,000, they're going to be in a different range than a 35,000 just based on the regular criteria. I guess what I'm asking, you want to see some language that specifically says what their overall budget is as part of how it will be selected?
Yes, that's what I'm saying. That the two should be different. Someone that has a budget of $5 million, they shouldn't be in competition with the micro loan program.
Well, okay, I understand what you're saying, but I guess my concern would be, so then now you're penalizing me for doing well? Because I may need this micro business grant because I want to develop some new part of my business that I think can help a segment of the community I served, otherwise I couldn't. Based on what you're saying, you're going to, I won't even have a chance at that because it sounds like I'm going to be punished just because I have a successful business. That's what it sounds like. That's what and I wouldn't want to do that. I would think that if someone is applying for the micro business grant based on the criteria that we set for them, that would be the criteria. And the director has said that the criteria for both of them are different. Now, I'd like to obviously see, once we get to that point, because this is just passing it in the budget form, what those criterias are. But I don't like the idea of necessarily punishing, and maybe punishing not the right word, but
Penalizing.
differentiating based on, because I am successful. Because I've seen businesses that are very successful, but they take on doing some new initiative, new concept with that micro business grant that maybe others aren't willing to take on, but could be beneficial in the community, especially one like Opa-locka that has a lot of diverse type of challenge and needs. So I guess I'd have to see what that would look like.
Uh-huh.
And I know we're not there yet. We're just passing the numbers, so we're probably a little ahead of ourselves. So I guess the director can bring that back of how it would look, for us to take a look at. 'Cause
Yes.
right now, we're just passing the number.
Yes, and he did say there was an application in the back. I see you, Vice Chair Williams.
Thank you. So question, are we going to go through this section by section or can I ask questions in regards to any of the budget? How would you like to?
I think if it's the will of the board, I think we would like to go section by section first.
Okay.
rather- Excuse me?
I think he said he was doing an overview and not.
Yes,
doing a
he's
section by-
not every item.
No, I'm
I
almost
think he
done.
was doing highlights of what he think would be things that would stand out.
Yeah, I'm almost done. So and in capital projects, we're putting in development assistance grant. This is for what we're gonna call the infill housing program so 300,000 of that is a carryover from what was approved by this board for Palmetto Homes. And then we put an additional $500,000 in there for any other developers that would like to do infill housing within the CRA boundaries in Opa-locka. So that's why you have a total of 800,000 in there. Presumably this year, Palmetto Homes will pay out the full 300,000, and then 500,000 for any other developers out there seeking development assistance. We're also putting in 200,000 for arts and public places. We're also putting so one of the issues and we did this is going to be a general housing initiative, so we don't have anything tied to this, but a part of the new state law requires that the CREs set aside 10% of the TIF that they receive each year for housing initiatives.
Saw that.
So this is what we did. We put the 250,000 aside just so it represents, even though we've already budgeted money for housing programs, we want to make sure that we have it to the side and it's there, 10% is there, and we'll come up with housing initiatives. One of them could be the first time home buyer program, down payment assistance that could come out of there, but at least it's to the side and we know that it's there.
Madam,
Before you go on, Board Member Taylor.
all right, so you already answered one of my questions. I remember that new law. But the other thing I was gonna ask you, the Palmetto Homes, we did the 300,000. Are we gonna cap that? Are you gonna turn that into an actual grant? Like an application?
So Palmetto Homes, we've talked about this last month. They have an agreement already with the board that was signed in 2022. So their issue is the report, compliance into that agreement, submitting the information to satisfy that agreement. They thought they submitted it to me on Friday, but after we checked this today, it didn't come. It's too large. So they're in the process of submitting their information for the 2 homes that they're applying for now. And as you recall, there was an issue because a check was submitted to the state for the full $300,000 that was rejected. So what we did was we met with the developer, and what we came up with an agreement is that the 2 homes that are almost finished, that we would give 60,000 for each of those homes in the terms of this, in accordance with the agreement. And that would come up to $120,000. And then the rest we will hold until he starts on the other townhomes. And then once that starts, we'll start reimbursing on that project. So what we're working on right now is for the 120. And then once he gets paid that 120, that'll help him jumpstart the other projects. Once he gets to once he gets full end construction with those, we'll entertain reimbursing the remainder of the 180.
I guess what I'm asking is, are you going to create a program around the $800,000?
Yes.
For
it's-
developers
yes,
to apply?
Yes.
So
yes.
just like, okay,
You already have the program. It's called the Developer Assistance Program.
Mhm.
okay. Can you,
That's the program in which Palmetto Homes went through.
Yes.
And they applied.
Yeah.
That's what I saw.
all right, so can you
No, no,
send
I'm
that to
sorry.
us?
Yeah, I
Okay.
will. And I'm glad you brought this up because we do want to change the program. And call it something else. We were thinking about infill housing program. Because in most places, when you give development assistance, it's usually you're getting something in return. And the way your program reads right now, you're just giving development assistance for nothing in return. And I know that there's a sentiment that we have enough affordable housing in Opa-locka. And so that's usually one of the incentives that you would give a developer any type of assistance, is if they were, having the rents at a certain rate for a period of time, or they're going to sell the house at a affordable value. But that's not tied in right now into your program. So the only thing that would make sense to us would be to create an infill housing program. So you would give developers an incentive to build on empty city lots. And that would be, I guess it would be an infill housing program, and that would be your rationale to give developers money, because right now there is none. You're just giving them money because.
Madam Chair, if
Yes,
I could piggyback off of the mayor's comment, because I was going to raise that point. The 300,000, I know is committed. That's kind of committed with an agreement. The 500,000 that you added to it would be the nucleus for the new program structure. I'll put it like that. I guess the question I have, would we require to do anything legislatively to make sure nobody else wants to come in and get under that concept? That's really my concern. I know,
Yes.
because we're passing the numbers, which is what we're really doing, even though we get into a lot of detail. We're really passing the numbers. But could someone come in as it is, say, I want to kind of do the same thing, because you have, in essence, 500,000 for infill housing. But as you're saying, and I totally agree, to change the way we're doing it, is it possible, or does it require legislation to not accept anything new until we develop that, whatever, or the board passes that new concept of what it would look like? Maybe that's a legal question, but that's kind of mine, because I think we do the assistance, but we're not in control enough. So I want to be more in control. So is that, I mean, that might, Madam Chair, I guess that might be a legal question. I'm not sure.
So I through the chair, Palmetto Homes just sent me their information now. You want to recognize?
we want to acknowledge that Board Member Williams is now in the meeting.
So what we can do, Commissioner Kelly, is
Go ahead, I'm listening. We just having a light humor moment, that's all. We entitled to be human. Go ahead, sir, I'm sorry.
we can do that for your November meeting. We can come back with the infill housing program along with a resolution rescinding any and all development assistant programs or agreements.
Okay, I'd like to see that then, Madam Chair, to my board members. I'd like to see that so that we can start out basically kind of more in control.
Yes,
Again, I totally support Palmetto Homes and what they have done, and hopefully we can use some of their ideas going forward, but I think we need to be more in charge. So that'll come back in the November meeting. That would be great.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Madam Chair, to that point. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for allowing me to.
Oh, the other, hold on, let me make one point through the chair. Yeah, so there's also a match tied to, and we'll get this in when we get to the program. There's also a 25% match that the property owner, this is for the commercial facade program that they would be required to make. And we'll get into that when we get into the program. In capital projects, we have park fences was 50,000, streetscapes 200,000, park amenities 150,000, and we also have 2.9 million that we put into building purchases. And basically, this 2.9, we don't have any idea what building we're gonna. This is aside from the 1.4 million that we have for the two properties that we're looking for. Basically, you have a surplus of 2.9 million bucks. And the state and the county, they don't like to see surpluses. So we put this inside building acquisition so that at least it's budgeted somewhere. But at least you need to know that going forward throughout this year, if you need, and again, a budget is as I've heard said before, is a breathing, living document that can change all the time. It can change from month to month. You don't like to do it, but you can. So if there's any projects that this board feels that we should be taking on, this is where that money's going to come from. This would be considered our piggy bank, our reserve account, our savings account. But you have 2.9 sitting in that account with the zero in carryover. And that's the overview of the budget.
Yes, sir, board member.
Thank you. Going back up to streetscapes, that has 200,000. And I always, when I see these things, I always think of art and public places, even though they're kind of, in essence, different. Can you, well, I guess it was just there. There's nothing really currently laid out. I know we've been talking about potential downtown and other areas of development, so I'm assuming that's why it's kind of in there. We just don't know what it might look like at some point.
Correct. And that's just, and really the low amount, because you can't really do much with 200,000, just for planning. If anybody had an idea that we needed to plan for it, that would be for planning dollars. And if we were going to do the actual hard construction of it, then we would have to look at taking the money out of the building.
Okay, and I want to ask a general question. On community policing, I see it's like nothing there, but it was money, I guess, before, and we didn't use but a little bit for whatever the purpose was. Can you tell, going back, what that was actually used for? Or maybe somebody on the board that was here before can tell me.
I can't, the only thing through the chair, the only thing I can imagine is when I was listening to first of all, that number that was there was $3,600. Which again, I don't know why that number was there. I don't know where it came from. But the only thing I can imagine is when I was listening to your previous meetings, there was some talk about, and again, I'm shooting for the sky here. I believe that there was some Ring program. You know, they were going to buy some Ring cameras.
Talk to you, Mike. I can't.
They were going to buy some Ring cameras
Yes.
to put in people's homes within the CRA area. I don't know whatever happened to that program. I do remember listening to it, you know, on the YouTube channel. Again, I don't know what happened to the program. I took it out because I didn't know what it was, the 3,600, but we kept the title there that in case this board wanted to entertain another program or keep the same program for community policing, that we can do that.
Well, that's why I'm asking, because I would like to, well, I wanted to know what it was there for. So it was there for Ring cameras and.
Yes, there was if I may, board member Kelly, there was an initiative that our previous director had put together with the police department. And they had purchased or were supposed to purchase, I don't know whether they ever purchased them. I did remember seeing a purchase order. I don't know whether they were ever ordered for Ring cameras that what they were going to be putting in seniors' homes, Ring door cameras, along with the police department. I don't know. We were purchasing them. I don't know who was installing them, but that was something that our previous director had talked to us about that.
We don't know if it was ever done at all anywhere. I mean, did we ever You say you thought it was purchased, but you're not sure they was ever installed?
No,
Does
I don't,
anybody that was here previously know?
I said I remember seeing a purchase order for them, but I asked the director to look at it and he said he couldn't find anybody that could really give him any information. If they were ordered, did you ever find out were they ordered?
I don't remember that request, but I will ask. I
Okay,
don't know. I've not, that was, my
Yeah.
only knowledge of it was from me watching the meetings.
yes.
So was there a program already set up for it by the board?
I don't excuse me, you had something you want to say, Board Member Williams?
I just remember we talked about it, but we
Yes.
never voted on anything. So if there was a purchase order, it should not be one. He mentioned it in his manager's report, but there was nothing acted upon.
I think because it was only $3,500 and he felt it was in his, like he said, I'm shooting from what I think now. It's because it was $3,500 and he felt it was in his privy to do it. So I don't know whatever happened.
Well, let me say this. I mean, it sounds like something that maybe we could entertain. I mean, seniors, a lot of them don't have cameras or have the means to buy, so I'm assuming that's why it was discussed. I noticed you took it out, Mr. Director, again, because you didn't know what it was. I guess we could pass it without it and then go back and do a budget amendment
Yes.
and allow you a chance to go see if you can find, as Board Member Williams said, to talk about us. Maybe there's some notes somewhere that we can look at. I think it's worth looking at the program. If it was something designed to help seniors with safety and security. When I see community policing, I was thinking it was something,
Yes. we'll put it
cameras,
aside.
other places in our CRA district that we could use that could help with legal dumping or something like that. So you could get back with us
Yes,
and
sir.
even see if that's doable.
Yes, sir.
Some of the CRA areas that may be challenging. And again, it would have to be a budget amendment, but since it's maybe some information there. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I do have a few questions. First of all, thank you for presenting this budget. You answered a lot of my questions. One question I do have, I noticed that we are spending a few more dollars in legal services and court costs compared to last year. What is attributed to that higher amount?
So I did that arbitrarily just because I thought the amount that was budgeted for was too low. I think it was originally, what did we put,
It was-
85?
You put 80 and it was 30.
I thought it was 50.
Nope, it was 35 and you put, actually, I'm sorry, 85. Yep, you put 85.
I thought it was 50. I think it was 50 in the template budget and I added 35. Anyways, I put a little extra in there because of the purchase of the properties.
Okay,
Yes.
makes
So there was
sense.
an agreement that was passed, a separate agreement with the firm, Weiss Serota, that had a separate agreement for legal services relating to real estate transactions alone.
Okay.
So because of that, I put a little extra in there just in case. But again,
Makes sense. No, that's helpful. And then secondly, the capital infrastructure grants, what's your intended, can you like provide some clarification on how you intend to use? I think we've got about 3.3 million in that section.
which one?
The capital infrastructure grants, it's under capital projects infrastructure.
The one that we were just talking about. No, that's a total of everything. That's a total of you're talking about capital infrastructure grants, right? The 3.3.
Oh, am I looking at this wrong?
So that
Okay.
includes the 2.9 from the purchases of the properties. If you go below that,
Yep,
you'll see it adds up to the same number that's up top.
I see it. Okay, thank you.
Madam Clerk, before we vote, I do have one question. I know they came up to us a couple meetings ago, the Main Street. We didn't add that in the budget?
We did not. We can do that now. It's $25,000.
Yeah, I would like to see that program.
So we can take them through the
Main
church, through the chair. You can make a motion with the attorney's permission. Somebody can make a motion and a second to include $25,000 for Main Street program.
Okay, well, I'll make the motion to include $25,000 for the Main Street program. It can
Chair.
come from,
It would come from the building purchases, 2.9.
and that's exactly what I was about to say.
It will come from the 2.9 that you told us that was the surplus? Okay. So if everybody understands what Main Street, the young lady came and made a presentation to us about the Main Street project.
Madam Chair, I remember the presentation was I don't think you were here. Were you here then?
No, sir.
Okay, if I'm understanding correctly to Madam Chair, to Board Member Taylor, you're making a motion for 25,000 for the Main Street program.
Yes, sir.
But please make sure you put the language subject to review whatever by the director, et cetera. So they'll just run that thing, they're gonna get a check or something.
And put some criteria in
Well,
place.
I'm sure because she came, made a presentation. We really didn't say anything that night because I didn't even ask any questions about it because she was just presenting. I mean, you all might know her better than me, but I don't know whatever. I just know she came before us and she said she was told to come here. And I'm pretty sure it's good, but in doing that language, Madam Attorney, just make sure it's subject to the directors, that language that you put in there. So they don't call tomorrow thinking they're gonna get a check.
So
They're not
Madam,
gonna just meet tonight.
Madam,
Keeping it real.
Madam Chair, I would like to ask, are you ready to take a vote? Do you want to open up for public comment? Or are there any more?
We
I-
can,
I have a com-
open it up for board because I don't think that would be a public comment item, but board members have questions. So first, Board Member Taylor made the motion. Someone seconded?
I'll second.
Okay, second by Vice Chair Williams. Now we can open for discussion. Board Member Williams, please.
Yes, Madam Chair, what were the deliverables? It's been a minute. I need a recap on the Main Street. Somebody, what was the program? What did it consist of?
So
It's for historical preservation.
yeah, so I don't have all the details,
Yeah.
but what I do know is that the Main Street Opa-locka program was envisioned in the Opa-locka CRA's strategic plan that was developed how many years ago? And so there are a handful of members in the community who are trying to bring that back to life. And so they're meeting on a consistent basis. They're in the process, I believe they're in the process of getting their nonprofit incorporation. I know that they've met with the Florida Main Street folks who've come down to talk to them about the work that they're doing. And so they might have a full plan that I'm not aware of. I do know that they are in the process of organizing in this moment because they want to bring this to life with the infrastructure that exists at the Florida level to make sure that we can take advantage, one, of some of those resources, but then also that we are able to activate our downtown area, our business corridor in Opa-locka. So I believe that is the gist of it and a little bit of history of kind of what they're doing. I hope that's helpful.
What she said.
And I think also this past week, someone from the state, I think they had someone from the state that came down and met with them as well. I've never been to any of the meetings, but I've read a little bit of it because it's in our plan of the Florida Main Street project is in our plan. And, our previous director went and championed it and got the designation. Board Member Taylor.
I wasn't done.
No, I think he was gonna add something. I thought he was gonna add something. Okay, go ahead, babe. Go.
No, I just wanted to finish my questions. So I think where I'm a little uneasy is just only because I just don't recall right now. It's not that I'm, what the full plan was, and we're designating money to something that I don't know if, quite frankly, the whole board really knows. I just wish if we can just kind of get reacclimated to what that is and then perhaps revisit I would feel comfortable doing that as opposed to putting some money in something right now that I'm not sure what it does. What's the deliverables?
Madam,
Yes, sir. I meant, yes,
thank
sir.
you. That was the reason I said subject to the director, because I'm kind of understanding about Main Street. I was studying Main Street. But I not want to go down this road, but I have challenge with that whole Main Street and not knowing when they came here to meet and finding out and all of that. So I'm trying not to go down that street, but that's why I brought up about the
Not
director.
down that street.
Yeah, because I'm a part of a board that people came in and talked about Main Street and I wasn't even aware of it. And I took that really to heart that, I'm like right around the corner, people are calling me, they're doing something, it's Main Street, and didn't know about it. So now I'm being asked to vote to give Main Street money. And I have a challenge, not with so much what Main Street does, because I'm familiar with it, but we're going to allocate dollars. And that's why I said I wouldn't have a problem with it, subject to the language being that the director would be okay with it, because I'm not sure the deliverables or what would take place easy. So now, one or two things I would suggest, if it's not time sensitive, that we would pass it and come back with an amendment, so we do have the money, because I don't know if it's time sensitive or not. You said they're meeting, people are doing stuff, so I don't know if it's time sensitive. If it's time sensitive, then that would be my caveat. If it's not, then I would just let the budget go through, come back with an amendment, allow the director to get all the deliverables and all of the information about what the vice chair is saying that they are doing or what they are proposing to do. Who knows? It might be more than 25 we can help them out with because of what they're doing. So right now I'll prefer that option. But if the director feels he's comfortable or the attorney can put language as such, I might be amenable to that. But if it's not time sensitive, I prefer that we just pass as is, come back with amendment. We have the funds, obviously, to do it. So that's not an issue. But that would be my suggestion, where we would get the deliverables, we would get all that, and the director would have a chance to really know what we're contributing, because we're going to ultimately have to ask him if they're delivering on whatever, since he wasn't here. Madam Chair, to my board member, that would be my suggestion.
Madam
Thank you, Board Member Kelly, Vice Chair Williams.
Madam Chair, I'd like to,
Go
Okay.
ahead.
I think these are all great comments and they make sense. And it is clear to me that we need to have the Main Street Opa-locka folks come back and really speak to us again. I would, though, maybe recommend recommend to this board if we might consider including a little bit less than $25,000 for them. They are activating a program that is included in our Opa-locka CRA, and they are in the process of organizing. And so $25,000, they might be using that to, for example, I don't know, they might have plans to do that, but I think even a smaller investment like $5,000 is money that will allow them to organize in the work that they're doing. And so they're meeting and they're applying for their incorporation. And so I think given that this is also a priority for the CRA board, and we've got community members that are working to bring this to life, I would love to see this board show some support. And to your point, Board Member Kelly, there's an opportunity that they might come back and present to us, and we might decide to fund them even more. But I would love to consider us investing even just a little bit in the work that they're doing.
I didn't have a problem with investing. My question was, is it time sensitive?
So I'm sorry, and I did not answer that question. I am not aware that it is time sensitive. I'm not.
Through the chair,
Yes, sir.
what little I do know about this program, the little 5-minute conversation I had with the person that was representing, she came into the office after the meeting that you had with the Secretary of State a couple weeks ago. But the little bit that I did glimpse was that the 25,000 is the minimum that the CRA would have to pass to participate in the program. So that's like a rule that they have. That's where the $25,000, and I think that's the state rule, that the city has to put a commitment, or the CRA, wherever the Main Street project is, whether the CRA or the city, that the minimum is $25,000. I do remember that. So,
Okay, well, I'm going to say this, so we can move on. If it's not time sensitive,
No.
then I would say pass the budget as is, give the director a directive to get all of the information. And to your suggestion, have them come back before this board to make a presentation, since we know it's a minimum of 25. Now that really might tend to go up. So I would just, yeah, I think we ought to just let them come here, and then the director can give us his opinion, since it's not time sensitive.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair.
Madam Chair,
Yes, sir.
so I do agree with Commissioner Kelly, so I'll pull my original motion
Okay,
from the floor.
okay, and so the motion will be pulled, and board member Nikisha, you pull your second.
I pull my second.
Okay, all right. So any other concerns with the budget?
No,
So if not, we could call for the question, please.
Board Member Irvin,
Yes.
Board Member Kelly,
Yes.
Board Member Taylor,
yes,
Vice Chair Williams.
Yes.
Board Member Williams.
Yes.
Board Chair Russell.
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0.
And to the director, thank you so much for the budget and giving us some insight. Very good job. Thank you very much. We can move on to the next resolution. Madam Attorney, please.
Yes.
Item number 2, a resolution of the Opa-locka Community Redevelopment Agency, OCRA, authorizing the interim executive director to extend agreement with Miami Service Corp. To provide program administration of the OCRA Home Improvement Program, providing for incorporation of recitals, providing for an effective date.
move it.
Moved by Board Member Taylor, second by Board Member Irvin. Concerns, questions? Mr. Director, would you tell us why
Sure,
we're bringing this back?
so if you'll recall, last month, you all wanted to talk to the Miami Service Corps about their deliverables. I did have a Zoom meeting with them after that meeting last month. They were supposed to be here tonight to present before you. I don't know why they're not here. They have registered and received permits for 7 homes so far. I will get you those addresses. And the issue is that their agreement was agreed upon, I believe, in late June or early July. And then they had some permitting issues with the city in August, but their contract was only until the end of this month. So their contract is actually going to run out before they're complete with the job. So what I'm asking for is, in order for them to complete their job, that we give them an extra 6 months to do so. They asked for, a year, because we had put some more money in the budget for a housing initiative, but I'm just saying 6 months. We'll give them 6 months to get it done, and then we move on. And we desperately need it, because now it's October. The thing ends October 31st. So we should move this, give them 6 months, and I'll work with them to get it done, and then we move on.
Madam Chair,
Yes, sir.
so if I'm hearing you correctly, they finally got a permits for 7. I know the number was 10. There was a concern about their fee versus the whole amount. Whatever happened in terms of dealing with that or addressing that concern.
They're taking about 10,000. They're taking for their services and the labor. This is a different type of program than this is more of a service type organization, and so they have a fee that they pay, tuition for the students that are in the program, and they're taking basically 20% off the top, and so the homeowner's getting 88,000, and they're taking 2,000
Per home.
per home.
Okay, and the agreement was really end in October, so now we're going to give them another 6 months
Correct.
to finish out. And then based on that, we'll go from there.
Correct.
Do they anticipate getting the other 3 to get to the 10?
Yeah, they should have gotten that. I was hoping that they would be here today to give us an update. We had a Zoom meeting. I told them the meeting date. So I will follow up with them and send you a memo as to where they are.
And on the ones that you said they're permitting, do we know like exactly where they are, or are they just?
I know that most of the permits were approved and that they were moving forward. That was probably 3 weeks ago.
Okay,
And again, they were supposed to be here today to give an update in person.
yeah, I would have hoped,
Yes.
they would have been here to get update, because I'd like to know like where they are in some of these, homes and what they've encountered, et cetera. Do we have the addresses of the 7?
We do, but I can't pull up my email. It says loading all the
Make sure
time.
that we all.
But I will I'll send it to you.
Madam Chair? Oh, I'm sorry.
Board Member Irvin, and then,
Yes, I have a question. I'm maybe these homes and things were, predates me. I'm not sure. But I have residents that ask after our last CRA meeting, who selected these homes?
They did.
How,
Miami Service Corps, sorry.
how did they know what homes to select?
They were given, I saw an email where they were given the map of the area, and they were given some direction by the previous director as to what area that they wanted to target. That's what I recall. And so that's where it is. But I suggest again that we do the 10 homes. We want to come up with another program. I don't know if we kind of blurred over it in the budget, but there is another housing initiative program that we put in there for 250. We think, we want real contractors working on these homes, doing them. So we're going to come back with a program that will, set aside money for contractors, maybe 10,000 piece, and then set money aside to, so that it's separate, but also just using licensed contractors, not volunteers.
I agree.
So we hope to come back that program in the next month or two for you.
Okay, and if I may say so, when it comes to, there needs to be, nobody knows what my house needs better than I do. And it needs to be, when I'll tell you how to do your job, but there needs to be, like, the residents need to put their address in a lottery, and we pick from a lottery or something like that and say, hey, your house was selected and let's see what you need done. Not some company coming in and being directed by somebody to go to suburbia Opa-locka and pick homes from there. Like, it seems kind of unfair when,
Well, I would, through the chair, what I would like to do is I would like to work with, and we talked about this a little bit at the last meeting, I think, work with the board to find streets that we should focus on, so that we're not doing a house over here and a house over here and a house over there, that we do them in clusters, so that the impact is greater. And so if we can work, so like even for the business assistance grants, I have 6 out of the 10 places, 7 really out of the 10 places already in my head. And 4 of them I've already visited and said, look, I want you to apply for this grant because we're going to fix this property up.
I hope some of them were on Opa-locka Boulevard.
Alibaba Boulevard, 22nd and 27th. We
Yes.
had to throw 22nd in there for,
Please drive through Opa-locka Boulevard.
we'll do.
Thank you.
But so the idea
My
that
business is fine, but there's some businesses on Opa-locka Boulevard that could use some major help.
and that is our downtown.
And that's
area
our
too.
downtown, yes.
So my idea was not to create a lottery, but to work with this board to identify either homes or commercial properties that we think are in need of our assistance.
Yes.
And then approaching them and saying, look, we have this money through our staff. We have this money, we have this program. We want you to apply. Here's how the program works, and we'll walk you through the process and get it done.
I like that. It's just that I also know my residents, and some days I don't have the fight in me. So if we can make it friendly, so everybody have a bite at the apple or whatnot.
I
Thank
think
you.
someone else had, Board Member Williams, you had that?
No.
No, it was me,
Okay.
Madam Chair, but I'm just gonna piggyback on what Commissioner Kelly said. When you provide the report for the addresses, can you also provide us a progress report of where they are today, as it stands today? And the timeline of, I know we did 6 months, so like when they're gonna start, and something like that.
Yes.
And if I could, Madam Chair.
Yes, sir.
The reason I brought it up because it's taken them a long time. I'm not understanding to get permitting
Yeah.
because this has been passed for so long. So I'm trying to understand. I know someone's supposed to be here tonight. Why it's taking so long for permitting. That's one of the reasons why I like the idea of kind of getting more control of this with contractors and licensed folks ourselves, because it's taken a long time. They got 7, 3 more to go, and we're giving them basically 6 more months to get this done. I'm just wondering what the permitting process, did they say why it took them so long?
They
with that?
they did request assistance, and I don't like to bash people when they're not around, but they did blame the process with the city permitting department. And they asked my assistants to contact Greg Gay. That contact was made. Somehow they got the help they needed and the process was completed. But you know, it wasn't, they're claiming it wasn't on them. It was the city set up process. You know, they've worked in the city before. And so they said that the process is different from the time when they worked in the city prior. And so it was taking a little much longer, and they were required to get permits that usually they were not required to get. And so whatever it was dealt with, and they were able to get the permits.
Okay.
But that was the delay.
Well, can you possibly make sure, hopefully, that they're at our next meeting to make a presentation and update of exactly where they are, because we'll have the 10 for then. We can ride around ourselves and see at least some of what they may or may not be doing. And then as Board Member Irvin said, going forward, yeah, because we have a lot of different residents with needs and what have you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Madam Chair.
Oh,
Yes.
go ahead. No.
Really quickly. So I know that the purpose of this is we want to pass it because we're almost out of time in terms of the agreement that they had. Just the one question I have going back to the invoicing. So I know the services and labor is 20%. I want to confirm that they are actually spending the full $10,000 on each home and that we've got documentation. So what I want to make sure is not happening is they're actually spending $8,000 on a home, right? Knowing that they have $10,000 per home to spend. And so we've got the invoicing, and we know that if a certain project is $10,000, or let's say it's $8,000, they're adding on $2,000 more in flowers or whatever it is. And flowers don't cost $2,000, but they are getting each of these homes up to that $10,000 max. Is that correct?
They're not, no.
Mm.
It's 8,000.
Oh, it's 8. Oh, yes, 8,000. I'm
Yes.
sorry, with the 2,000 for that. Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and they will be providing invoices as a part of the agreement that they signed. And obviously, when they submit an invoice request, we will be looking at the backup to make sure that all of the backup information is accurate.
Beautiful.
Board Member Williams.
Just real quick, we've been working with the Miami Service Corps. I believe since the start of the pandemic, when we received funds. And what I wanted to say, between the city side as well as CRA, we've all had some type of dealings with the Service Corps. My concern from the very beginning of our partnership is they were supposed to bring in what I believe it was young adults to train. After asking one time, second time, third time, because this is not the first partnership that we've been in, like I said, between the city as well as CRA. They're never able to bring in young adults from Opa-locka into this program, and that's always been my issue. I've never been able to receive the information of how many students that are from Opa-locka. That's been at the core of their mantra, has been training residents in order for them to provide those services within our own community. I do recall that most of the time, those young adults, as well as adults, but most of them are young adults, and they're in training. You're right. They're not carpenters. They're not skilled trainers yet. They're in training, but most of them came from surrounding communities such as Miami Gardens, North Miami, and most of them didn't come from Opa-locka. So to tail into the same thing, I think I heard you say it earlier, that for us to have more control and to bring such program ourselves would be amazing. And I think we should continue down that road so that we can ensure that not only that we know that the workers are from our community. We've had conversations when we talk about people that are going to build in our community. How are we vetting them? How are we getting workers from Opa-locka? How are we training them? This is the perfect opportunity. But if we need to complete this program, that's fine. But one thing I will say that is over the years, I have never seen a presentation of, again, the deliverables. I've always been given addresses and had to ride to those places to see what has been done. And for the most part, it's been paint or flower, putting flowers or building a ramp for a wheelchair. I've not seen a big, huge difference. Well, paint does make a difference, but like a big difference as a skilled worker, a trained worker would do in a house. If someone, I know we have residents all the time, specifically seniors, that talk about cracked pavements or cracked sidewalks or cracked, just needing an overhaul of that, like a cement layer, so that they don't fall in their own yard. So those are the things that I would like to see. So I'm glad that I heard you say, because over the years that has been a little, those some issues with the service corps. I believe I was very excited in the beginning during the pandemic, but now I have not seen anything, and I don't want to keep, spending funds and not seeing those deliverables. Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Director, my concern is signage. If the Miami Service Corps is the one that's doing the work, I know that they always put out their sign. We need to make sure that the CRA has a sign, in that for the length of time, just as the same as the Miami Service Corps, in that yard, in the front of that yard, that house, to let people know that this is something that the CRA is doing, because we hear all the time, what is the CRA doing? We don't know what they're doing. And if we're doing work in the community and if we're not telling our story, nobody else is going to do it. For the CRA, I know that we have been with the saying about working with the Service Corps for quite some time. I didn't know what the hang up was. It kept saying that they couldn't get started for different reasons. My concern is that also with the $10,000, they're taking $2,000 out of every project for their administrative costs. So what happens if one home only needs only want flowers or plants in their yard? Do we give the Service Corps do we reimburse them for only what is being spent, or do we give them $8,000 blanket and allow them to spend how they
all of this,
How that process
yeah,
works?
all of this is on a reimbursable basis, and my understanding is they try to get up to the $8,000 for each home. But that's a good question that I will ask, and I was
Yes.
hoping that they would be here
Yes.
to answer, but I will ask that question for you.
Yes, I was, the last time we had a presentation for the Miami Service Corps, and I asked the director at that time that they should have been here to make a presentation. I know at one time he said that they were on Zoom. I want to just make sure from IT that we didn't have anyone that called in on Zoom. Okay, no one called in on Zoom, because that was another platform that if they couldn't be here in person, that they could call in on Zoom. You know, we have this contract with them. If we have to move forward with it, you know, my concern is also the same as Board Member Williams. We always allow organizations to come into our community, and our residents don't reap the benefits of what goes on, or making the dollars, or even learning the skill. We have a lot of young people that could take advantage of the skills that they bring. So I know that their contract is over October 31st, and you want to get this passed tonight. I'm not comfortable, number one, because they're not here, and they've had ample opportunity to be here. And I believe that, you know, everybody should come and fight for their own, you know, this is what they want to bring to us in our community.
Well, Madam Chair, I just have a
Chair.
quick question. Is there a way that we can, I know on page 17, under scope of work, it says engage young people between the ages of 18 to 24 in meaningful work through the plant, paint and pave home renovation program. Mr. Matt, is it Director? I'm so sorry. Mr. Director, is there a way to, before we pass, to amend that at any way possible? I know we can't stipulate that all 18 to 24 students. If I recall during that time, using the ORCA, those funds, the OCRA funds, they tried to get those young adults, but there was some gang affiliation foolishness going on at the time. And you can, and I can brief you on what was going on then. I'm hoping that that's not the case now. However, is there a way that we can, at any way possible, to, you know, that they reach out to City of Opa-locka residents before? Because right now it's just so broad, and any 18 to 24-year-old, I just want our residents to be able to reap under the skills that are being taught before we move forward.
I don't know the answer to that question, whether we can change it now.
Can you please restate the question? The question that you just asked.
Okay, so where it says engage young people between the ages of 18 to 24 on page 17. And I was saying it's very broad. It doesn't stipulate residents, that those young people from ages 18 to 24, at any way possible, that they would reach out to residents of Opa-locka before they reach out. So there's no wording within this agreement that says that they will attempt to bring in Opa-locka residents before they go out anywhere else.
So if you'd like to change the language in the agreement, we would have to draft up a new agreement for them to sign. And since they're not present here today, I mean, that's something that we can propose in the future. So are you stating that you want to extend it with the new language in the new agreement? You would like to amend the agreement
Exactly.
prior to extending
Yes.
this contract?
Exactly.
Madam Chair.
But it expires on the 31st.
We're extending it now.
Is there some type of like time frame on this?
So I'm thinking to myself, we can't extend it with, I mean, we can't amend it without their
Of
approval because it's a contract, but you're saying that their current contract expires October 31st.
31st. And so she's making a motion to extend the contract,
Subject to,
subject to their best efforts to bring in Opa-locka residents to the program.
so
Is
But we
that,
don't
that's
know.
what you, that's what you're saying, Board Member Williams?
And
That's,
if they do, that's great. We don't know as a board. We haven't seen it. We haven't met. We don't know. So if they want to come, they didn't come tonight. So that's fine. But that's what I would like to make sure that language is in the agreement.
I think that's fair.
I'm almost up.
we can, instead of instead of amending the language in the agreement, we can pass the resolution with a condition that they focus on Opa-locka residents as a condition instead of bringing forth a new agreement that they have to be a party to, et cetera. You can put this as a condition to the passage of the resolution. Would you like to, is that how you would want to do it? Or do you want to specifically?
Still
you-
makes it.
What you're saying is that we can amend this agreement,
Amend.
amend this resolution to include that a focus is put on Opa-locka residents. And
Correct.
then it would be up to the director at that time to see what type of process they go to, you know, if they get applications or, you know, reach out, make sure they reach out to churches, or there's a high school over here in Opa-locka. You know, if they take those avenues to make sure that they're reaching out, because people always say, well, I put it out and nobody from Opa-locka came. Well, how do we know you did that?
Right.
You know, we don't see no applications. We don't know the process that you take. That's why it's important, because I'm almost of the mindset to not even pass the agreement because they didn't think enough to come.
Right.
But I understand that this is a program that we have wanted in the community. We've talked about it and we do want to see it go forth, but we don't want to just take the money and put it out on the street and then come back next month and say, oh, well, I did it because, you know, I only got 6 months and I need to do this. I needed to do all of these things, you know, so I'm not, you know, I love the program, but I'm just not,
Madam Chair,
yes, sir. Board Member Kelly.
thank you. Mr. Director, do you know how much money has been expended already
I do not.
on the 7 homes or whatever that are in the pipeline? How much money has been expended?
I do not. I will.
All that we spent?
We haven't spent.
We haven't spent anything because it's reimbursed.
Was reimbursable, but they've been working, doing something. We don't know what they've been doing, but they've incurred some costs, I'm pretty sure. We don't know what that is yet.
No, sir.
Well, we have an agreement. So to get the agreement changed, got to go back to them and they'll yay or nay. I agree with my colleagues' concerns about having Opa-locka residents an opportunity and involved, but it would change the scope of the agreement, which has to go back to the group to see if they're amenable to it. We
Well-
can't ask the director to ask them to do it, but we know how that works. I mean, this is like everything else when you tell them have a job fair, or whatever, for jobs, and it never really materializes. I think the question is whether we want to just go forward with this agreement or just not go forward at all. My concern with not going forward is how much we've spent or how much we would be on the hook for once they would submit whatever bills they've incurred. Seems to me it shouldn't be a lot, but then I don't know. Because you said they got the permitting and
Yeah,
they started, so I don't know how much that would entail. And you don't have a way of really, well, you haven't got any bills yet from them, correct, Mr. Director?
Correct.
but there are some costs we know that they've already incurred.
Yes, because they had to pay, if they pay for permitting, that would be the cost. If they say they got 7 homes permitted, Mr. Director?
Yes.
No, what I'm saying is they identified the homes. They know what supposedly is needed.
Oh,
So they went through permitting, maybe they bought paint, maybe they bought wiring, I don't know. So they got some costs and we don't know what that amount is. I'm just trying to weigh in my mind that amount versus just not going through it at all, because we can say to them, we want Opa-locka young people involved. But I think the way this works, you know, they already have a structure of young people that come there, sign up, register, whatever, and they utilize those folks as a part of the program they have within. And since we don't know, I guess, Madam Attorney, there's no way around going without getting an extension of the agreement with them approving it, correct?
Yes, so what I was suggesting was that you would pass this resolution subject to the condition that they make their best effort, use their best efforts to attract Opa-locka young adults into this type of home improvement program. So it would be, you would be conditioning the resolution as is.
Okay, but the resolution, also the condition resolution, and then they're gonna say, we have an existing agreement already, and so you're actually changing it. So it'll be up to them to accept that change. That's what you're saying.
Well, the change is minor, it's not a substantial change. So I don't think that would be an issue. And which is why I was suggesting the condition. And following that, this is
I hear you, but it's an extension of an existing agreement.
right.
So now you're changing some of what's inside of the agreement. I agree with the changes. I'm just saying if they decide, you know, we already making our best effort, we have an existing agreement. We're actually just suggesting to the director with this condition, go to them, hear what the board wants. If they say, no, we want the original agreement, then you have to just bring it back to us and we have to decide one way or the other.
So I guess what I would need to know is, what is the best efforts? What is it that the board would like to see? Is there something that they need to provide, documentation that they are making efforts to reach out to because if we say best efforts, right, we don't know, what does that look like? What are the parameters for that? Do you want them to have applicants apply? Do you what are the conditions?
From my standpoint, I'll defer to
The
the chair and board member Williams here, because they were, you know, this program been around for a while, not just with this component. So I don't know that wording. I mean, was that understood already or?
Well, I don't know about the city side. I wasn't in on the city side, but from the CRA perspective, what I understood was that they reach out to young people in the community. But I also learned later that they already have a group of people that they work with and they pull from that pool. So I don't know where those residents come from. So now what we will be telling them that we want you to look at residents in Opa-locka, because my understanding from the beginning was that this was going to be an Opa-locka project, CRA, and that they would be selecting students, young adults from our community. That's what I understood. But I later learned, not through us, but from other people that have taken advantage of the program, is that they get students from all over and they just bring them to work in different neighborhoods. So because they're not here, that's what I understood it to be. I don't know how they do it. I know they do it through Miami-Dade County and have been doing it for years through Miami-Dade County. I've never been privy to, you know, any of their work or how they
Madam
do
Chair.
it. So what I would suggest to us as a board, that if we're going to pass it, if Board Member Williams is okay with her concern, if we're going to pass it, just put in the best efforts, the wording best efforts to use Opa-locka residents if that's amenable, because it might not be amenable if they already have a pool of students that they choose from. And then going forward, we'll know how to deal with it from there. So if that's something that Board Member Williams would be amenable to,
Madam Chair. Oh.
I'm asking.
No, I received the text. I don't know if it's up to the board. Ms. Dorsett from the Service Corps says that she never received the link for tonight and wanted to know if she could log on, if someone can send her the link. So apparently she never got it.
I thought she was gonna be.
Huh?
I didn't know I was supposed to send her a link. I thought she was showing up here tonight.
I
I
don't
don't
know.
know.
I just a text of a text.
But we can
So yeah, it's up to the board. I don't. Yeah.
my mother's 79th birthday dinner is going on right now, and we still have other items to get
Got
to.
Okay, not a problem.
So if we
Would you like to
can,
revisit the item?
we can extend it for 2 months. I think the attorney may want to suggest not the full 6 months.
So I suggested that we amend the resolution to state that we will extend it for 2 months, and then we can revisit when we have the Miami Corps here. And address those issues with the agreement with them. Maybe we can provide that language prior to that November meeting so that we can pass the amended agreement.
Okay, we're gonna go to Board Member Taylor, and then we're gonna move, if you're finished, Board Member Kelly, you're done, we're gonna move to Board Member Taylor so we can move on.
I was just gonna say the same thing. I wanted to.
No, I wasn't, but I guess I'll be there. I was gonna suggest 1 month or two, so we just move this item.
Right.
That's what I was gonna suggest, 1 month or two, move the item as it is, and they get directed to share with the Service Corps our concerns or what have you. And that way you can also find out what they've done, what costs would be coming in, encourage the board to make a decision. So my recommendation, Madam Chair, is to amend it instead of 6 months, 2 months. And I'll
Okay.
move that amendment for 2 months.
Okay, it has been amended, so do we need to vote on the amendment first? Yes, okay. We're voting on the amendment to move it from 6 months to 2 months. Madam Clerk, please.
I did get a motion. I didn't hear who second.
Second,
Oh, okay. Who motioned for the amendment?
Commissioner
Board
Kelly.
Member Kelly,
I'm sorry, Board Member Kelly.
and then it's second by Board Member Vice Chair Williams.
Got it.
Okay,
Ready for the roll call?
yes, please.
Vice,
On the amendment, right?
yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Vice Chair Williams,
yes.
Board Member Williams,
Yes.
Board Member Irvin,
Yes.
Board Member Kelly,
Yes.
Board Member Taylor.
Yes.
Board Chair Russell.
Yes.
Motion on the amendment passes 6-0.
Madam Chair, I
Yes,
would
sir.
also like to just put on the record that I'm recalling our conversation, and she may or may have not, she may have asked me to send her a link. I'm not sure. It was 3 weeks ago. So I don't want to put on the record definitely that she may have asked me to send the link and I forgot.
Okay,
So
okay, well,
that may be a possibility.
we'll get it straightened out, and I'm glad that she reached out. At least she's listening. At least she's watching online. Okay, we're gonna move on to the question. To the actual agreement. And that's already been
Yes.
motioned and second.
Yes.
Okay, roll call, please.
Board Member Taylor,
Yes.
Vice Chair Williams.
Yes.
Board Member Williams.
Yes.
Board Member Irvin,
Yes.
Board Member Kelly,
Yes.
Board Chair Russell.
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0.
Next item, next resolution, please.
Item 3, a resolution of the Opa-locka Community Redevelopment Agency, OCRA, authorizing the interim executive director to enter into a consultant agreement with Peggy Joseph to provide administrative assistant services to the Opa-locka Community Redevelopment Agency's front office operation in amount not to exceed $36,000, providing for incorporation of recitals, providing for an effective date.
Move it for discussion.
Moved by Board Member Taylor,
Second.
second by Board Member Irvin. Mr. Director, can you give us some background on this, please?
Sorry. Yes, Madam Chair. So basically, there was a process ongoing to hire an administrative assistant. I think the position was posted back in June. I reviewed the resumes of that were submitted through the Human Resources Department. There were some, let me not say that. Well, there, when I got here, there was a Human Resources Department, and then a couple weeks later, there wasn't. So we've been working with Ms. Lawson to go through the resumes. The city, and again, this is about growing pains, I think, because we're all getting to know each other, but the CRA is separate from the city. I know that hasn't been the case in the past, but the city had a process set up where they interview all candidates from the manager to the custodian. Everybody has a panel interview to get a job here. So it was my position that we were separate, and our bylaws say separate, you know, have a separate process. And so that we were in a little stalemate there because I thought that I would be able to hire whoever I want to hire. And they thought that they should have a say in that process. So we did go through the bylaws with this city manager, and she did point out that as the agreement was with Ms. Taylor, that we are allowed to enter into a consultant agreement with employees. Actually, the bylaws read that the executive director can contract with a contract employee for up to 2 years without board approval. I'm bringing this to you before the 2 years so that everybody's on the same page. This is the person that I want to hire. It's a contract employee. It's not a person that's going to receive benefits. If you look at what was budgeted, it's going to be less than what was budgeted because you're not paying, I think it was $19 an hour that's budgeted. So for full-time, you're not going to be paying the health insurance, which would come up to about 43,000 all in. This is going to be at 36,000. There's no commitment. We're not getting married. When if it doesn't work out tomorrow, she can be, the agreement says she be terminated within, an hour or, 24 hours. She can also leave. We just need help in the office, and we need help right away. And so I'm asking you to approve this. If it doesn't work out, we don't owe any money. We don't have to pay a severance. We don't have to pay sick and vacation. It's just a clean cut. So I'm asking you to approve this so that we can have somebody in the office to answer phones, do the filing, administer some of the programs, and then we will bring back to you. I also have been interviewing positions for the 2 other open positions, and one of those positions may come in a similar fashion to this. I think, for what you all want to do, which is just get people in here to start working, this is probably the best route to go until we get our feet under us. So there is another person I'm looking at for the CRA manager position, which we may bring the same as this as a consultant. And again, it's not a relationship we're building. We're not going to commit. We're not going to give you health insurance. We're not going to pay the taxes. We're not going to pay your 401k. We just want you to get here and work. So I'm asking that you pass this. Ms. Joseph wanted to be here tonight, and at the last minute at 5:15, she was unable to make it, but she was going to come introduce herself, but she wasn't unable to make it. But I asked that you pass this so that we can have our first employee in the office, so I'm not lonely all by myself anymore.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Board Member Taylor.
I have no problem, no issue with the process. The only thing that I have a concern about, and you brought up the city being separate from the CRA, that in the scope of work, this person, Ms. Joseph, does not clerk the board. So that's my only concern, because we can't keep Chris and Joanna forever. So
we can actually, if
I was
I told her she's spoiling us. She's spoiling us, then she's gonna go away.
but they have their own work to do. So I would like to see that that if we do go forward with Miss Joseph, that that we also include that she will clerk the board. That's the only thing, it's once a month. So even if you have to add whatever, but I would like to see that.
Madam Chair,
Yes,
if I could add, I don't have a problem with that, but I don't want Ms. Joseph not to come because she got to clerk the board. I think the director may be looking at that component of it. If she's comfortable with doing it, that's fine, but if not, I don't want to hold the item up. I know the clerk has other stuff to do and I share your concern, but I just don't want that to be a sticking point because I'm quite sure he's already negotiated
yeah.
this with her.
Okay.
And so that's the only thing, if she's not amenable to that component, then come back and tell us, so we have to look at some other alternative or hiring someone, et cetera. And we would just smile at the clerk and Mr. Wills until.
So what Commissioner Kelly said, just ask her, is she willing to do it? But
Well, my concern with any other board members before I say anything,
no.
my concern would be, does she have the skill to clerk the board? Because we've seen in the past that anybody just can't come and clerk the board. There's a training that they need to go through to be able to clerk the board the way that it's supposed to be clerked. So if that's not a part of the scope of services for her, let's kind of leave that to the side and beg. The clerk has been doing such a great job.
Wait. That's okay. I will be submitting my invoice.
Then we need to reimburse.
So we'll continue doing a great job.
Yes.
So
And I've told her, she
Yeah.
would tell you, I've told her on several occasions,
Yeah.
make sure that you give your invoice to the director. And I've told the director, make sure you ask the clerk for her invoice because she has been doing an awesome job. And you know, we're not used to this. Y'all on the city side might, but
At
on
all.
the CRA side, we're not used to this. So we appreciate it. We don't want her to say, I'm not showing up. So whatever her invoice is, please give it to Mr. Director.
Madam
So
Chair,
We could, yes, ma'am, and then we're gonna,
I'd like to make a motion to approve this resolution.
yes, ma'am.
because Mr. Manager has to go to his mother's and we should,
Yes.
yeah, let's,
Yeah.
come on.
Because if not, I know if I was a mama, he would be getting
He
it
would,
right
yeah.
now.
If your mama was like my mama, you would have been here. So we could, I vote to call the
Okay,
question.
call the question, please, Madam Clerk.
Board Member Williams,
Yes.
Board Member Irvin,
Yes.
Board Member Kelly,
Yes.
Board Member Taylor.
Yes,
Vice Chair Williams.
We said yes at the same time now. I was the first
Okay.
yes, so now it's your yes.
Yes, my apologies.
Board Chair Russell.
Yes,
Motion passes 6-0.
thank you, thank you. What's next? What's next?
Madam Chair, it's item 4, a resolution of the Opa-locka Community Redevelopment Agency, OCRA, to establish the Opa-locka Community Redevelopment Agency, OCRA 2024 Business Assistance Micro Grant Program with an allocation of $250,000, providing for incorporation of recitals, providing for a severability clause, providing for a conflict and repealer clause, providing for an effective date.
move it.
Moved
Second,
by Board Member Kelly, second by Board Member Taylor. Mr. Director, but before you do that, Mr. Director, if you have to leave, we know that he's more than welcome to sit in.
yeah, because.
Mr. Adam, if you have to leave,
Come on.
you good?
I don't want to.
Okay, we don't want you to get a whipping when you get to your mama's party.
But we can just move along.
Okay. Go ahead, it was moved in second. Go ahead, Mr. Director.
So this is the small grant for $35,000 a piece. This is to help with business assistance in the micro, in the small area. The areas of concern and priorities would be any business interruption or emergency recovery, employment opportunities. You can hire people with this grant, and building improvements in its different areas for building improvements. And then there's the eligibility requirements. And then that's what the grant is.
Okay. I think we've kind of discussed this earlier.
Yes.
We're good.
If no more, any concerns, anyone? If not, we could call for the question.
Board Member Irvin,
Yes.
Board Member Kelly,
Yes.
Board Member Taylor,
Yes.
Vice Chair Nikisha Williams,
Yes.
Board Member Veronica Williams,
Yes.
Board Chair Russell.
Yes,
Motion passes 6-0.
number 5, please.
Item 5, a resolution of the Board of Directors of the Opa-locka Community Redevelopment Agency, OCRA, to establish the Opa-locka Community Redevelopment Agency, OCRA, 2024 Business Incentive and Assistance Program with an allocation of $1 million, providing for incorporation of recitals, providing a severability clause, providing for a conflict and repealer clause, providing for an effective date.
Move it for a quick discussion.
Second.
Moved by Board Member Taylor, second by Board Member Veronica Williams. Open for discussion.
Okay, he already presented it. The part that you have on page 56 that says businesses who receive business incentives should create a full-time blah, blah, blah position. I love that idea, but I'm also going to piggyback on what Commissioner Williams said earlier, that the priority of that is an Opa-locka resident.
Yeah, that should be here somewhere, but yes, it's $30,000. It's one position for every $30,000. So for the $100,000 grant, we'll be creating 3 jobs for each business.
That's awesome.
Okay,
We help.
but I just want
We will put in there for the I thought it was in there already, but we will put in there Opa-locka resident.
okay,
Make best effort. We
make
can't-
best effort to
Yes.
hire an Opa-locka resident.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah, you can't tell, but make best effort. But other than that, I am good.
Sounds good. Anyone else?
So to clarify, we are amending the language here. We're passing it with the amendment subject to the.
Make best efforts for the person hired to come from Opa-locka.
Okay.
And we'll just put that in the application.
Eligibility.
Okay.
Okay, we're clear? Everyone is clear?
Yes.
Okay, we can call for the question.
Board Member Irvin,
Yes.
Board Member Kelly,
Yes.
Board Member Taylor,
Yes.
Vice Chair Nikisha Williams,
Yes.
Board Member Veronica Williams.
Yes.
Board Chair Russell,
Yes.
motion passes 6-0.
And Mr. Director, we know that for these programs that we're putting forth that you're gonna need those employees on. So whatever you have to do to push that forward, you know, if you have to call us as board members so that you can make sure you get employees in here that you could make sure that these programs are moving forward.
Thank you.
Number 6, please.
Item 6, a resolution of the Opa-locka Community Redevelopment Agency, OCRA, authorizing the CRA manager to enter into an agreement with Cherry Bacart Advisors LLC for bookkeeping services, providing for incorporation of recitals, providing for an effective date.
Move it.
Second.
Moved by Board Member Kelly, second by Board Member Irvin. Mr. Manager, Mr. Director.
This item predates me. There was an RP that was done. The RP, I think it had 5 or 6 respondents. There was a selection committee by the city. They ranked and interviewed and ranked all the proposers. They came up with a score sheet and they recommended this company. And so I'm passing this along to you. You brought it up at the last meeting. You can vote on it now. I know it was a large package. You can defer it. The attorney, correct me if I'm wrong. Although there was a recommendation made by the scoring committee, this board has the authority to choose whoever they want that of the respondents. But this is the recommendation that was made by that committee.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Board Member Irvin, saw you, and then Board Member Nikisha Williams.
Yes, I was gonna ask the director, did you look over the information?
I did, and I think that it was pretty the scoring was, this company was far away the best in scoring. There was another company that was second, that was a pretty reputable firm as well. But the other firms were far, far, far behind. So it's really a competition between the 1 and 2. Either I would feel comfortable with. This seems like a large company.
Okay, if you're comfortable with them, I'm comfortable. I just wanted to know if you were comfortable.
Yes.
You like what you saw. Okay, I'm good.
I mean, I like both firms. Let me put it. I like 1 and 2.
Okay,
He said he like 1 and 2.
1 and 2.
Madam Chair,
Yes,
question. I believe at our last board member, to the director, at our last board meeting, you mentioned that you had a firm that you recommended. Is that firm in this package or no?
No, this was done before I arrived. So we
Okay.
just kept with the process that was here. And
Is that something that you would like us to consider?
no, I think
There's
I
good
think we
ones
should
here.
move forward. The
Okay.
board wants this to happen soon. We could pick 1 or 2 and we can move forward.
Sounds good. And I think in looking at the top 2 scores, I think concerns that I have is that the firm that did score the largest, they are a really big firm. And so I just wonder what will the attention in Opa-locka look like. I also didn't see, I didn't skim through it, but I just didn't see where they have a local office. They mentioned that they have Florida offices, but I'd be curious to know if any of them are in Miami.
There was 1 in Coral Gables.
Okay, beautiful. And where possible, I would love to support Miami-Dade based company. And so I believe the second highest scoring firm is a Miami-Dade based company. And I believe they might also be Black owned. And so I know that's not part of the scoring rubric, and just looking at the scoring rubric, I have some concerns about how they're actually judging these applications, but I would say as much as possible, would love to shop local.
board member Veronica Williams.
So to be honest, I'm gonna shoot this down. I do know that you said, I don't know the time sensitivity on this, but I don't know. I don't know any of this. And I don't want to, based off of rubrics that I've never seen, that other people on the city side saw, like, I don't know. And I want to know. And I don't want to vote on something that I don't know. So I'm gonna have to pass on this.
Madam Chair?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. My only issue that I have with the one that was presented, and it stands out, no CRA experience, no TIF, no CRA experience. But then I believe the second one, several CRAs per cycle, I think that's what it says, which is the HCT. So I'm a little,
Okay, so you like the second one, the
yeah,
second firm. Okay.
I kind of like the second firm
Okay.
because that stuck out to me. And
Madam Chair.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm not, I know the director wants to get some staff in here, but I'm not for the recommendation. I really prefer one of the others. So if it's not time sensitive, or I know you went with it because it was there. But I don't care for those that I see. I am familiar with some of them, a couple of them. But I think when you get a big firm, and I'm also looking at their costs too. So is this something that can be deferred, or you bring back, or is it such you just got, I know you want to get somebody in there, that's probably goes without saying. Yeah, I really don't want to support that one. So that's just my opinion. Thank you, ma'am.
Mr. Director, you were gonna say something?
If the board would like to defer the item, I'm I have a good relationship with the city's financial department, and we're working pretty well together. So it's not a rush that we do this, from my standpoint, at least. So if you want to defer it, I know it was a lot of information, and I didn't expect you all to gather all this information so quickly. So if you want to defer for 30 more days, I'm okay with that as well.
Yes, as long as you are comfortable with the process that you're going through with the city and with the
Yes.
state. And I know you've had several conversations with the state and the city to make sure that things are getting done and sent up to the state timely. And as long as you are comfortable with that situation and you have a grip.
Yep.
You have a grip on the finances of the CRA.
Yes.
Okay.
And they were unable to do the bank statements for this month. She sent me the screenshot. They were unable to log in. They tried. So we will, once we get those, we'll send those to you in a separate transmittal.
One question, when do we get the TIF dollars?
They usually come in, from what I remember, around December or January.
Okay,
Yeah, I understand. Time to have a little kick in.
Yeah.
yes.
Yep.
Okay. Okay, we can, we're gonna defer that item, Madam Attorney?
Madam Chair,
Yes,
if we're going to defer this to next month, can I ask that if there are other firms that you think we should consider, that you proffer them next month?
Well, I would need to talk to the attorneys about that because we procure,
we put out an RFP.
yeah, you put out an RFP, so you're gonna have to start all over again,
or
throw it all
stick with
out, or
somebody
stick with what you have here, one of the people here.
Okay, so we're deferring that item. Mr. Director, you can go to number 8.
Number 8, so we talked about some of this stuff already. One of the other development agreements we're working on is with Mr. Walter, who's building on Wall Tower, sorry. Wall Tower, who's building on 2 city lots within the city. We've working on the same agreement that we're working on with Palmetto Homes. And I think he has 2 lots here in the city. He's almost complete. He told you all, I saw that meeting as well. He told you all that he was gonna have a house and a family. Yeah, I think he started in June or July. And he said he was gonna have a family in there by Thanksgiving. He's gonna have a family in there by Thanksgiving. It's a really nice duplex, I think it's duplex unit, 2 units. And we're gonna help him out with that project as well, so he could start on the project across the street. That's an example of an infill housing project. It's a former city park, I believe, that was given to somebody else that didn't build on it, and then he purchased it full cash from that person and built this duplex within 6 months. So we're working on an agreement with him so he can move forward on the other lot across the street. We've talked about Palmetto Homes. There was one thing I did forget to put on the agenda that I need you to do now, and I apologize for catching you off guard on this, but on the rent relief program, I need somebody to make a motion to extend Miss Linda Taylor's contract by 3 weeks. Let me tell you why. If I can tell you why, because it's a little confusing, but Miss Taylor had a contract with the CRA that was for a certain period of time. Don't catch me on the dates because I don't know the dates. During that period of time, Miss Taylor, she stopped invoicing because she stopped working because she wasn't getting paid or something to that effect. So when she submitted her final invoice for the time that she worked, some of that time was past the contracted time. So it was past the extended time of the contract. But that's because Ms. Taylor and the CRA was looking at it as the number of days within that agreement. And when they press pause, and then they continued, but then it extended above the amount of days on the contract. So in order for her to get her last payment paid, we would need to, I think it's really only 3 days, but I'm giving myself a little wiggle room and doing it 3 weeks. Nothing's going to change in the amount. It's just the ability to get her paid. The contract needs to be extended by those 3 days, but I'm saying 3 weeks just in case I'm mistaken.
Madam Chair,
Yes,
through the chair to the attorney, would it be easier for us to just authorize the manager to pay the invoice versus extending the contract? Because if we extend the contract, then it has to come before the commission to get ratified because it needs to be signed and blah, 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 blah. So wouldn't it be easy for us to just make a motion to authorize him to pay the final payment? I would think, no?
I think it's because of the state, right? Mr. Director, the state is saying that her contract in and we can't pay her past that time.
Correct.
And I know she sent an email and she copied me on the email that she took a pause in between a few days. I think it was 3 days or something. And she stopped working and she took it upon herself to say, I want to give you all those 3 days that I didn't work. So that's why she worked that extra time, because she wanted to be true to her contract. Because her contract would have been up and nobody would have even been the wiser. She's the one that said, I'm giving you all an extra 3 days because of the time that I did not work. And the state, I believe, is saying that the invoice date does not mirror the contract date. So they're telling us, I believe this is state that's telling us that we need to extend her contract for those 3 days.
Correct. And a simple motion and a second and the passage of a 2 to 3 week extension will take care of this matter.
Okay. Can someone make a motion that we, as long as everyone understands it and is clear with it, that we can.
No, just to address your point, yes, I think it's better that we do the motion to extend the time period. We wouldn't want to give authorization to pay an amount based on dates that aren't technically in the agreement. So doing it this way would actually provide that we're doing it the legal way.
Okay, but then what I'll also ask, because the state asks, is that once we make this motion, that it comes back to the board for ratification. That was the only thing.
I don't know how this.
Because we're extending a contract. So that's why I asked it the way I asked it. But
So this is my first time hearing about this particular issue. So I would have to look into exactly what is being done. I don't want to advise you based on facts that I'm not fully aware
But
of.
why would, I'm sorry, through the chair, why would it need to be ratified?
because just like we were extending the contract for what's these people called?
Miami Service Corps.
Miami Service Corps. We're essentially doing the exact same thing.
Yeah, and there's no
But you're gonna-
ratification. There's no right, you're doing it right
Because
now.
we're voting.
Yep.
We're voting.
And that's it.
Okay.
It's done. Doesn't come back.
So we're voting to extend the contract for 3 weeks.
Correct.
So what you're saying is that it doesn't have to be ratified.
I'm saying that it does not have to be ratified.
Okay. Okay.
That's my. Because I think that's what's going to come.
If it's not the correct thing to do tomorrow,
And I don't want to hold up.
tomorrow,
I don't want to hold up.
the director, you could get on the phone with Mr. Rollerson and make sure that we did the right thing. If not, we.
And
can
I
make
spoke to him and this is what he said for us to do. This is a recommendation. And so what we will do is, even though we don't have a resolution in front of you, if you vote on this today, we will write up a resolution based on your vote, have it signed, send it up to the state, and say this is the new date for the, contract.
And so that Miss
Taylor.
Taylor can get paid.
Correct.
Because she could have not said anything. She could have just let the contract be over, but she's the one that said, I want to give you all these extra 3 days that I did work. So can someone make a motion?
Make a motion to extend, I'm sorry, I think it's a 2, I'm just gonna go 3 just to be safe. 3 weeks to extend her contract.
And
So
I'll
she
second.
can get paid.
Okay, the motion has been made by Board Member Veronica Williams to extend the contract of Miss Linda Taylor, consultant, on the rental and mortgage assistance program, and the second by Board Member Taylor. we've heard what it's about, so can we call for the question, please?
Board Member Taylor,
Yes.
Vice Chair Nikisha Williams.
Yes.
Board Member Veronica Williams.
Yes.
Board Member Irvin.
Yes.
Board Member Kelly.
Yes.
Board Chair Russell.
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0.
Water treatment side, I'll defer that item to another day. The purchase of 14401 Northwest 27th Avenue. We had to do an extension because due diligence phase was taking longer than expected. We are on track to close within the new extension date, which is additional 30 days. We thank our lawyers, because of the issue with payment for the due diligence, the surveys and the environmentals. Our law firm is fronting us the cash to pay those items because we don't have a mechanism to do that quickly. And then we will get reimbursed, and then we'll reimburse them. The escrow money was put in, the 650,000 for the purchase was put into escrow. And so we look at closing. We did make an offer on the second property to Mr. Ball. We made an offer of 640,000, and we have not heard back from them on that offer. And that's it.
Thank you.
Any, thank you.
Yes, and thank you to him. I was thanking Mr. Walker.
Anyone else? Nothing? Okay,
I'm just happy to see that it's moving through.
yes, yes.
So thank you, like Vice Mayor said.
What about the conference? Anything on the conference?
Just that those members that know that they're going are going, and those members that know that they're not going are not going.
Okay.
That was hurtful. Jesus.
I like you. I like you.
That was to the point. Thank you.
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you,
Second.
Mr. Walker. Thank you very much.
Happy birthday to your mom. Motion to adjourn.
Passed.
We wait on the chair.
Chair.
Motion to adjourn.
Okay.
Thank you. Nice to meet you.